Well, hi everyone. It's becoming a stressful time of year, and I wanted to come to you today with 7 tips to help you reduce your stress and that feeling of overwhelm. So stay with me. Well, hi everyone. It's Crystal from A Crystal Clear Life, where we focus on planning, organizing, and living a more simplified life. And today I would like to just say hello and welcome to all of you who are joining us. Welcome back. If you are a returning viewer, I really appreciate all of you. And just a little bit about myself. I am a retired educator who has been teaching for over 35 years, and I really just love sharing with you some tips and tricks and ways to use GTD and OneNote to make your life a little bit simpler, a little bit more organized, and a little bit stress-free. Okay? All right, so let's jump right into today's video. Today, I really want to do kind of a quick overview of some helpful tips that I have learned from the book GTD, or Getting Things Done, which is a book by David Allen. As you can see here on the screen, uh, it is called Getting Things Done, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity, okay? It is not about go, 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 get things done. It is a way to write down all of the requirements of things that we have to do and therefore create stress-free productivity, meaning getting things done, but without all of the headache and stress. So, here's some tips for getting that to work for you. Tip number 1. Don't fret about the tools. David Allen will be one of the first people to tell you it does not matter what system you use. There is no perfect app or notebook out there that will help you with this process. So don't worry about all of that. Just use what works for you. It doesn't matter if it's paper, a notebook that you keep in your purse or your pocket, a bullet journal. It doesn't matter if it's a tablet or a laptop. It doesn't matter if it's a combination of all those things. I often will use my microphone to dictate information right into my notebook in OneNote. So it doesn't really matter. You could even use your phone if you want to. Just make sure that the system that you decide to use is a system that you trust. Okay? It does not have to be all in one place. It could be partially that you keep a notebook for when you're on the go, and partially something that you do in your computer. Just know that you have to trust the system that you are using. Okay? So, tip number 1, don't fret about the tools. Tip number 2, probably the most important tip that I have, is write it down, or as David Allen calls it, capture. And what that means is anything that pops into your head that you either think is interesting, or that you need to remember, or that you need to take action on should be written down somewhere. This creates clarity and ultimately more freedom for you to be able to choose the next actions that you need to do. One of David Allen's most famous quotes is that your head is a crappy office. So don't keep it up there, write it down. Tip number 3, keep a calendar. Write down all the appointments that you have for yourself and all the scheduled activities that you have for both you and for your family. That's really important. And the more information that you can put with that calendar event, the better off it is. Let's say you have a doctor's appointment. Go ahead and jot down the address next to that and the phone number, so that if there's a last-minute emergency and you need to call the doctor's office, all of that information is right there. If you have an appointment for a party to go to in a month and a half, and you are supposed to bring a specific dish, please go ahead and note that with the appointment, so that again, you don't have to think about all that and try to remember it. It's already written down for you. Keeping an appointment calendar is tip number 3. Tip number 4, consolidate all of your reminders into one place. Now, as many of you know, if you followed me for any time, my one place is OneNote. I use OneNote for everything, and I absolutely love it. The one place that I consolidate all of my things is in a yearly notebook in OneNote. The first thing that I do every month is I create an inbox and notes page, much like what you see on the screen here. And I use custom tags in OneNote to create all of the different categories that I need to keep track of. Another thing that I love about OneNote is they have a feature called the Find Tags Summary feature. And when you click on that, it brings you up a whole list of tags and things that you've written down. It doesn't just have to be in your inbox page. It doesn't have to be in your calendar pages. It can be anywhere in your one notebook that you're using or all of the notebooks that you have if you would like to extend your search that far. So consolidating everything means nothing ever gets overlooked. That is a great tip. And tip number 5, reconsider your commitments. Make a list of all of your projects that you're currently working on. And according to David Allen, a project is something that takes 2 or more action steps to complete. Okay? Sending your mother a birthday card is a project because you have to buy the birthday card, fill it out, put a stamp on it, and drop it in the mailbox. That makes it a project. Okay, so make a list of all the projects that you have upcoming. They could be big, like redecorating your house, or small, like sending your mother a birthday card. And then also take a look at all of your areas of focus. Now, for David Allen, areas of focus is horizon number 2. And what that entails is all of the things that you have going on in your life that you have made commitments to. Your health, your budget, your work, your job description, your family, maybe any civic commitments that you have, maybe any spiritual or church commitments that you have, maybe any extracurricular activities that you might have. All of those things are areas of focus, and with each area of focus comes different commitments, okay? Once you've made a list of all of your projects and you've made a second list of all of your areas of focus and what those responsibilities are, then ask yourself, look at this picture of these mountains. I have built a lot of mountains for myself to climb on these lists. Is that sustainable? Can I do that? Can I do that short term? Is that something I could handle long term? Think about that really seriously, okay? Are these commitments that you've made with other people, and so you feel that you have to keep those commitments? Or are these commitments that you have made with yourself? So maybe you have a commitment to go to the gym 7 days a week, but maybe that's just not feasible right now because of other things that you have to do. So you may need to renegotiate that commitment with yourself and maybe only go to the gym 4 times a week, but you're going to walk around the house or your neighborhood those other 3 days of the week. So by altering your plan, you might be able to relieve some of the stress for some of these commitments that you have, okay? And then I want you to think about, what do you want more of in your life? And really, what do you need to say no to in your life? And remember, when you say no to something, if somebody calls you and says, for example, Crystal, we're putting a new committee together to put on a library book sale, and we want you to be part of that. It is okay to say, you know what, I really support the library and I really love the idea of a book sale, but I just cannot have that on my plate right now. I just have too many other things to do. Thank you for thinking of me. And if there's another way that I can support you in that, I'll be happy to think about that. Okay? Saying no is not something that is very easy, but if you work on it and you have an idea of how to say no to things, you don't have to give them every excuse in the book. You can simply say, "No, I can't handle that right now, but thank you for thinking of me." Okay? All right. So, tip number 5 is to reconsider your commitments. Tip number 6, think about this. Is this pressure that you're under, is this temporary or is this permanent? If it is something that you are feeling great pressure from right now, is there some way that you can delegate some of those items to someone else? Is there someone that you might ask to work with you? You can ask for help from someone. It's often more fun to do a project if you have somebody else involved. It makes the time go faster, brainstorming better ideas, all of those kinds of things. So remember, don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, like we talked about earlier, sometimes it might just be important to make a new plan. Let's say that book sale is happening and now you've been asked to bake cookies. Well, that's something that you might be able to do, but do you really need to have handmade, cut out, and individually iced sugar cookies for that bake sale? Or would a sheet pan of chocolate chip cookies be just as good for the bake sale? So think about that. And think about the fact that you might be able to make a new plan for something that you really want to do. Okay? And then ultimately, think about this question. Will this really, really be important next month or next year? In the long, grand scheme of things, does it really matter if the cookies are sugar cookies that are hand decorated or if they're chocolate chip cookies? It doesn't really matter. It's really not that important. And sometimes just thinking about it that way helps relieve some of the stress. Tip number 7, our final tip, and probably our most important tip, especially if you're thinking about the GTD or getting things done method. That tip is to do a weekly review. Now, remember, I do everything in OneNote. So, what I usually do is I start with my OneNote calendar and I take a look at the couple of weeks that have happened already and I go over those calendar events again to make sure that I have not forgotten anything. Then I look forward a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, depending on the time of year that it is, and I think to myself, what other commitments or activities are coming up that I need to make sure are on my radar? I don't like it when things sneak up on me. Okay? So the first thing that I do during my weekly review is check my calendars. Next, I go back to that infamous inbox and I read through all of those items that are listed on there, check off the ones that have been completed, remember the things that haven't been completed, look at any notes to see if there's something that I need to do with those notes, maybe move them to another section or research a little bit more about them. But I go through that inbox with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. Then I go to that customized tag summary so that I can take a look at not just the things in my inbox and in my week that I've looked at, but maybe anything else in the notebook that I don't want to forget. The customized tags and the tag summary in OneNote can get very granular and very detailed, and I absolutely love that about that feature. It's probably one of my favorites. Then I jump over to my trusty projects list. I take a look at those projects that I'm currently working on, those things that are upcoming that I need to keep in the front of my mind, and that helps me think about other things that I might need to schedule, purchase, or take care of. Okay? And then finally, I look at my areas of focus. And again, those areas of focus are things that I am responsible for, that I am accountable for, that I have made commitments about. So things like work, health and wellness, spirituality, family, personal finance, relationships, hobbies, creativity, civic duties, all of those kinds of things, okay? Some people might look at those and think, well, I do have intentions or goals for each of those areas. Yes, that is the time to go and look at those things to see the kind of progress that you're making, okay? Now, all of these tips may seem overwhelming, and you may be saying to me, but Crystal, I'm just adding things to my list that make me feel even more overwhelmed. Well, what I would like to suggest to you, and what David Allen likes to suggest in his book, Getting Things Done, is that the more that you get out of your head and the more clarity that you have about all of the things that you have already made commitments to, the more relaxed you can be, the more you can take a deep breath and say, you know what? I've already bought all the ingredients I need for those cookies. Now all I have to do is spend an hour one evening and bake them up, okay? So really having all of these things that you've already done the thinking about is really a great way to reduce that stress. So GTD, or getting things done, is really a great method for helping to reduce that stress and that feeling of overwhelm. And by storing all of that information in OneNote, I feel like, as my trusted source, OneNote is the place to go to look for anything that I might need, as those weeks approach and I am feeling stressed out. Okay? It gives me such great peace of mind to know that everything that I have coming up is written down in one place. And I'm not going to lose it, that's for sure. Anyway, as the stressful time approaches in your life, I would like to just hope that you might take some of these tips that we've talked about today and you might apply them to your own life and to your own situation. If you have learned anything today, please give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn those notifications all the way on so that you don't miss any future videos that we have here from A Crystal Clear Life. And until next time, here's hoping that you can live a more organized and simplified life through better planning. I use OneNote and the GTD method. Until next time, okay, bye.